It looks like we're topping out. And why that is important is because of a couple of things. Number one, it means what we're doing seems to be working. And if that's true, that means we're starting to see an end.
Good.
That means we're starting to see an end to this. And if we're starting to see an end to this, then I've got to talk to you about some very important things. And the important things are what? The important things are that we are getting ready to end this and go back into our lives. And if we're getting ready to go back into our lives, then I need to talk to you guys about what that's going to be like and what you're going to be experiencing. Now, you've heard me say that I think the mental emotional aspects of this are going to take a greater toll than the virus itself. And I mean, not just mentally and emotionally, but also physically. Because, as you've heard me say, the stress reaction that we experience is designed to last for a few seconds or a minute. It's the fight or flight reaction. When you get under stress, you have a fight or flight reaction. It's what gets you aroused. It's what pumps you up, gets you ready to protect yourself, save yourself. That's supposed to last for a short period of time till you get out of danger. When it lasts for hours, days, weeks, or a month, our body's not designed for that. And so it causes us to start breaking down in our bodies. And we start seeing organs break down. We start seeing an increase in mortality, an increase in dementia, an increase in heart disease. We start seeing all kinds of physical problems. We start seeing people with disease have those diseases magnified. And so we have problems mentally and emotionally. We have PTSD, depression, anxiety. We have different kinds of mental illnesses that we may have had before that become exacerbated. They get worse. So I've been saying that we're going to have to start dealing with that and talking about how to have strategies to overcome that. Okay, now let's say that we head back into our lives within the next few weeks here. It could be as early as the middle of May. It could be as early as the end of May, the middle of May. How are you going to approach that? Are you afraid? When you go back out there, are you going to say, well, hey, I'm good? Are you going to be willing to go to a concert? Are you going to be willing to go to Vegas and go to a showroom and be in a big crowd of people? Or are you going to say, yeah, I'm not so sure about that? Are you going to be willing to go to a restaurant where it's crowded? Or are you going to kind of tiptoe into your life? Are you going to see a friend and shake hands with them? Or is that forever not going to be a part of Western culture anymore? Are we forever going to kind of have some kind of an elbow bump or some kind of a different sort of salute? Are we going to change the way we live? And when you go out there, are you going to be intimidated? Because let me tell you what has happened. Since we've been in this, everyone's world has gotten smaller. And when we go back out there, it's easy to be intimidated by what's going on out there. What you used to do, which seemed like, hey, no problem, all of a sudden can seem like, wow, this is pretty overwhelming because you've been tucked in for a long time. And it's hard to get back out there. It's like the first game of the season, there are always jitters. What's it going to be like for you? Well, let me tell you what I want it to be like for you. And I can't talk to everybody. I guess I could if everybody would listen to what I was saying, if everybody would tune in to Dr. Phil every day on television, if everybody would get on these conversations right here. Because let me tell you, our American society is not good about this. Where do you go for common sense, understandable psychological information every day? There's nowhere to go. There's Dr. Phil, and maybe I'm for you, maybe I'm not. But there's no other show on television that is dedicated to just that. There's no other place where you know what you're getting. So I'm trying to show up as many different places as I can to deliver common sense information every day to people for free. And there's no more relevant time for that than right now. So if you're one of those people that are Dr. Phil followers, Dr. Phil adherents, Dr. Phil supporters, then here's what I want to do. I want you to use the time from now until we get back into our lives getting ready. I want you to spend the time getting yourself mentally, emotionally, behaviorally, socially ready for when the door opens, you can hit the deck running. I used the analogy the other day. It's like if you ever watch NASCAR, you know, they get ready to start the race and there's a pace car out there. And the pace car is going around the track and all the race cars are behind the pace car. And they're zigzagging back and forth, warming their tires up and all. And then that pace car pulls off the track. And when it pulls off the track, every car behind them tries to be at absolute top speed when that pace car pulls off the track. That's what I want for you. Right now, we're locked up. We're locked up right now. And when those doors open, I want you to be mentally, emotionally, socially ready to get back into the game. And to do that, you have to start thinking about, what do I need to do? What do I need to think about? Am I anxious? Am I scared? Am I worried about what's going on? Do I have fears? Am I kind of intimidated? Do I need information so I understand exactly what my vulnerabilities are? Financially, what am I going to do? Do I have a plan for that? Am I going to go out there with no job? Am I going to be competing for a job? What am I going to do? And I don't know what everybody else is going to do, but I know what I want you to do. I want you to be ready. I want you to be set to get out there and knock this out of the park. You know, a lot of you know that my job before I did what I'm now doing is I was in the trial sciences. And that meant that I worked with lawyers on getting cases ready for court. And we won cases before we ever got to the courthouse. You know how? We out-prepared the other side. We just out-prepared them. We may not have had the best case, but we had the best prepared case. And we won a lot of trials before we ever put our first foot on the first step of the courthouse because we out-prepared the other side. We had studied their case better than they had studied it themselves. We had attacked our case and found the weak points better than they had. When our witnesses went on the stand, they came back and looked at me and said, "That's it? That's anticlimactic. Their cross-examination of me wasn't half what yours was. That's it? I mean, that was easy compared to what you put me through." We out-prepared the other side. That's what I want you to do. We are, despite what's been going on with this bailout package and sending people money and all of that, that's great. It's necessary. When you turn the country off, you've got to help everybody in it. I understand that. But when you get back out there, that ends, and this is a competitive world. This is a capitalist society, and it is competitive, and I want you to be ready to get what you need done, to take care of your family, your children, your home. I want you to be able to do that. So we're going to be working on that in the coming days. That's what's going to be on Dr. Phil. That's what's going to be in these conversations here. And the best way to do that is to have facts and know what you're doing. Robin's giving me hand sanitizer because she wants me to quit touching my face, which I have this bad habit of doing. She's standing right there. She's hiding because she doesn't want anybody to see her. What?
I'm going to pop just around the corner so I can say hello, but don't look.
All right.
Hi.
Okay. That's all you get. It's a hi. Let me answer some questions, and I'll put some of my thinking into these answers. Emily Cram asked, how long do you think this will go on? I trust and value your opinion more than anyone else's. Well, you should, because I'm telling you the facts. No politics, no spin. I have no agenda other than your agenda. The only agenda I have is what is good for you. Not Republican, not Democrat, not anything. I just want you to have the information you need. I think it's going to be over very soon. What are we today? This is the 10th of April. I think we're going to get the world turned back on sometime in May. If it goes all the way to May 31st, to me, I see that as the outside. Now, originally they were talking about as much as 18 months. I've never believed that. I don't think you did either. Then I think the next realistic estimate was the end of June. I never believed that, don't believe it now. I think we're looking at the end of May. It could be sooner. And I think if the antibody tests roll out where we can find out who has had this, you're going to see those people start opening businesses sooner. Because if people have had this, then they're immune from having it, according to the infectious disease experts. So they can go out and move about the world without fear of getting it, and therefore without fear of spreading it. So we need to find out who has had this disease. And let me tell you something. We have no idea how many people have had this. You get the counts, you look at the counts that you see on John Hopkins' website or Worldometer's website, and it's like worldwide 1.4 million. In the United States, what is it now, Robin? What's the count now?
I can't remember. Last night.
Let me look. Right now, the count. Let's see. Let me go to USA. The count in the USA is 489,268 cases, 18,000 deaths, 26,000 recovered. But that number, 489,000, that could be a tenth of the number of people that have contracted this virus, because 85% of the people that get it have mild or moderate symptoms. And of those people that are in that 85%, a third of them may have no symptoms at all. So they never presented themselves to be tested. So there is a big group of people out there that have had this and never even knew they had it. That's how it spread so fast. If you go down the mall and you see somebody coughing and wheezing and sneezing, you go, oh, I can stay away from this guy. But that's not how they look. And so it's easy to overlook those, walk right up to those people because they don't have any symptoms. And right now in New York, they're testing 21,000 people per million. In LA, in California, they're testing 4,000 people per million. So that is a very small sample. 4,000 people per million in California, 21,000 people per million in New York. Do you think that's catching everybody that has it? Of course not. Massachusetts, 13 people per million. Texas, 4,157 people per million. I'm just taking some random samples. Alabama, 4,200 people per million. So very small samples have been taken. And by the way, if you look at the total number of deaths in New York and New Jersey, you have to add up the next 10 or 12 states together to equal what has happened in New York and New Jersey, because it's so congested in New York and New Jersey. If you look at the number of cases in New York and New Jersey, you've got 170 and 54. So you've got, 225,000 cases there. You have to go through the next 20 states added together, half of the United States before you get up to that number. So the concentration is in New York and New Jersey, and then it's spread. Now, you heard there was going to be a big hot spot in Louisiana because of Mardi Gras. Well, you know, that happened for a little while. They have 19,000 cases, but in terms of total deaths, they have 755 compared to New York, which has 10 times that amount, over 7,000. So what I'm saying is, particularly in the rest of the country, this is slowing way, way down. So to answer your question, long answer to your question, I think this is going to be over sometime in May, which is why I'm saying I want to start talking to you about getting ready to get back out there. I want to talk to you about what to say to your children. I want to talk to you about what to say to yourselves and to each other's. Misty Jackman, what I don't understand is why they are saying the next 2 weeks is going to be the worst. How do you predict that is going to be the worst? I don't get it. Well, it's statistical. They're looking at trends. And when you look at the New York trend, you can see that it's been a hockey stick. I mean, it was flat and then it's just gone up, 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 up. But now it's starting to flatten out at the top. So I don't think the next 2 weeks are going to be the worst. I think the apex, we may be at the apex now. We don't know that. I mean, tomorrow could be a horrible day. But right now, the admissions to ICU in New York, which is the world epicenter, are less than they were before the coronavirus pandemic. There are fewer people going into ICU in New York City than were going into ICU before the pandemic happened. So all of this stuff about we need 30,000 new respirators, we need this and that, they're starting to loan those out to other people. They're redistributing because, as it turned out, they didn't need them. What they do need is PPE. They need personal protective equipment. They need gowns, they need gloves, they need masks. Because there are patients in there, lots of patients in there, and the people on the front lines that are having to work with them, they need to be protected so they don't get sick and take it home to their families, because they are in contact with people that have it. So it hasn't turned out that there has been this horrible shortage of respirators in different places, but there has been a shortage of personal protective equipment. And I think that's getting solved very fast as well, because we've got a lot of that equipment, those materials coming in right now. But they've predicted that. I don't think it's going to happen because I think they overestimated the impact of the disease. Do not take what I'm saying as license to go out there and just start kicking it, because the reason that it's not as bad is because we've all done what we've been asked to do. We stopped doing that and we can see a spike again. Teresa McLean, I'm kind of scared. Should I be worried? It seems like while everyone is getting over it, my town hasn't even started yet. No, that doesn't mean that you're just behind the curve, that it's going to hit your town really badly. That doesn't mean that. It means you guys have dodged a bullet. You've done the isolation, you've done the social distancing, and so maybe you're not going to have the impact that some of the other towns have had. There are places in the United States that simply don't have the concentration that others do. If you look at total cases, whereas New York has 170,000, Missouri has 3,500, Nevada has 2,500, Oklahoma only has 1,700 cases. And when you look at total deaths, some of these places, Tennessee, 94, Alabama, 79, Mississippi, 82, Utah, 13, Idaho, 24, Oregon, 44, Delaware, 23, Kansas, 42. So while you're looking at, all of these big numbers up on the East Coast, Some of the towns are in double digits. So it's just different for different people. The website I'm looking at, by the way, where I'm reading these numbers from, is worldometers.info. And it's just worldometers.info. And it gives you a lot of information there that is just, pure science. And it'll tell you what the numbers were yesterday. Like yesterday in New York, it says there were 10,333 new cases, and so far today, 9,008. So it's beginning to switch. Now, is this over? No, it's not over. Don't relax what you're doing yet. That would be the wrong thing to do. Is it over in New York? No, it's not over in New York. They still have a monumental challenge in New York. I think the capacity in the morgue there is either 700 or 900, and they've had 8,000 deaths, 8,000 bodies to deal with across a short period of time in 900 places in the morgue. They have a lot of bodies that they need to treat with dignity and respect and get where it needs to go, get them where they need to go. Anna Sanchez says, what about the places that are hot all the time? What if it doesn't get better for the summer? Look, there's some new research out that has just come out in the last 24 hours that suggests that heat does not kill off this virus. So summertime may not bring the relief that people have been hoping for. That's preliminary research, so we don't know, but apparently it's not something that dies off in the warm months as people had hoped, as I had hoped. Melissa Trent says, my husband wants to spend Easter with his parents. I totally understand that, but I know we should keep our distance. They have health issues, and I don't think it's a good idea because my husband's job is considered essential, so he can be exposed. Am I right in telling him no? Yes, you are right in telling him no. If his parents have underlying physical issues, if they have particularly respiratory issues, then this is a time that you just need to be together electronically like you and I are together right now. Look, it's just not worth the risk because of the 15% that do have more serious symptoms, there is a small percent that do lose their lives. And most of those are those people that are advanced in age that have underlying conditions, particularly respiratory. Look, this is a respiratory disease. So if you bump up against somebody that's sweaty and they rub their sweaty arm on your sweaty arm, the infectious disease experts say you're not going to get it from that. You have to get respiratory droplets. So they have to sneeze or cough or get close to you and talk. And when people talk sometimes, then droplets come out of their mouth, and if it hits yours, your mouth, your nose, or your eyes, this is all mucous membranes, that's how you get infected. That's why they said social distancing, 6-foot separation. The problem with that, of course, is the Journal of the American Medical Association 2 days ago issued a study that said a robust sneeze travels 27 feet 8 inches, distributes particles 27 feet 8 inches, a cough 19 feet 6 inches. So it travels a lot more than 6 feet. Although, before you say, what the hell, in the first 6 or 8 feet, most of the droplets that are big enough to cause an infection, most of the contagion does drop out in the first 6 or 8 feet, but not always. It does travel 20 to 27 feet for sneezes and coughs, and depending on the wind, so that's why you want to stay away from people that are sneezing and coughing and not get in the face of somebody that doesn't have symptoms. Social distancing has kept us away from people that aren't showing symptoms but are contagious. That's where that has kept this from spreading like it was originally predicted to do. Linda Harris says, how long after this first wave will it take for the second wave to hit the U.S.? Right after we start going back to our normal lives or next flu season? Well, look, this is a novel virus, so people don't really know, but the infectious disease experts, Dr. Nagy, Dr. Grayson, some of the people that I've been talking to are saying that this is going to be seasonal, that we'll get through it now, but it will come back probably October or November of next year. The hope is that we will have a vaccine by then. The prediction is a year to 18 months. Hopefully we can accelerate that curve. And we also have the convalescent serum, the antibodies from other people. And I think there should be a massive testing of the population to see who has had this and gotten over it, because I think there are a hell of a lot more people that had it and didn't know it than there are those that have been tested for it and are known. So I think we need to have a massive antibody testing to find out who's had it, and then you can get the antibodies from their blood, spin it up into a serum, and use it to inoculate other people. So I hope that happens very soon and that we're ready for it when it does come back.
Explain that, antibodies.
What?
Explain that antibodies, like Shonda asked last night.
I'm sorry?
Explain that antibodies test, like Shonda asked last night. Does it tell specifically the COVID-19?
Yeah, and the antibody test is specifically for this virus. So it will be specific, and that should help a lot. Okay, listen, I'm not going to keep you guys further, but what you're going to be hearing from me coming up is what you need to do to be at full speed when you get back to your life, what your children need to do to be at full speed back to their lives so they can stay safe when they go back out there, but they're not afraid. You don't want your children to see the world as a hurtful place. You want them to see the world as a welcoming place. You want them to feel like they're in control. And we are in control here. Come on, guys, we're not helpless. Look what's happened. Look what's been done. This was a pandemic, and it has been really blunted. At one point, they were predicting over 1 million dead in the United States. Then they said 250,000. It now looks like it might be closer to 60 or 80 by the time it's over. We don't know. But I certainly don't think it's going to be what was originally predicted. I don't want that to be taken to say, well, Dr. Phil says this thing's pretty much over. We can just kind of go back to our lives. No, we can't. The reason that I'm saying that it is worse, it was predicted to be worse than it is because we've done better than they thought we could do. We don't want to take our foot off the accelerator right now. We need to stay with that. Let's stay with it. Let's do a good job and continue on. We've got to get the economy turned back on. You've got to get your jobs going. But they've forgiven rent. They've forgiven mortgage. They're sending money. There is help. We'll get through this. Hopefully it's not going to last too much longer. Okay, guys, it's Friday, Good Friday, right? So I won't be talking to you Saturday or Sunday, but I will be back Monday to talk to you at 11 o'clock. We've got some great shows next week that are all about this and all about getting ready. I've been shooting them from right here in this chair at home. And so have a good weekend. Stay safe. Don't give in to the temptation at Easter to say, well, just this one time. Stay with it for right now, because if you're going to visit parents that are in their 60s or 70s, you don't want to do that. Stay with it, and we'll get through this. Okay, now you get to watch me fumble around and turn this off again. Okay, end.